Did you know that the excruciating fire-like pain of a gout attack might have nothing to do with that steak you ate last night? For decades, millions of people, maybe even you, have been told a simple story: avoid red meat and seafood, or suffer the consequences. You've been warned about purines, religiously followed low-fat diets, and maybe even given up your favorite foods, all in the hope of avoiding that debilitating pain that can make even the weight of a bedsheet feel like a ton of bricks. But what if that story is a dangerous distraction? What if the very foods you've been told are safe, like certain fruits and juices, are secretly setting the stage for your next flare-up? If you've done everything right but still find yourself waking up in agony, feeling like your joint is filled with shards of glass, then you need to hear this. The advice you've been following isn't just outdated, it could be making things worse. In the next few minutes, we're going to uncover the hidden truth about what really causes gout. And it's a truth that could finally give you back control over your body and your life. Before we pull back the curtain, if you're ready to look beyond the headlines and find real answers for your health, take a moment to subscribe and click that notification bell. You won't want to miss the truths we uncover together. Let's start with the biggest myth of all, the purine problem. For years, we've been told that purines from foods like red meat are the #1 enemy. The logic seems simple. Purines break down into uric acid, and high uric acid causes gout. It's a belief so deeply ingrained in our health consciousness that we rarely stop to question it. But here's the shocking truth that most advice conveniently leaves out. The purines you eat are just a drop in the ocean. Think about it. Your body is a remarkable, living machine, constantly breaking down and rebuilding itself. Every time one of your cells uses energy or breaks down old DNA, it creates purines. These are called endogenous purines, meaning they are made inside your own body. The purines you get from your diet are exogenous, or from the outside. And here is the critical fact. Your body produces 5 to 10 times more purines on its own than you could ever consume, even on the highest purine diet imaginable. Telling someone with gout to avoid all red meat to lower their total purine load is like trying to empty a swimming pool with a teaspoon while a fire hose is blasting into it. It's a futile effort that distracts from the real problem. Does that make sense? If the food you eat contributes so little to your body's total purine load, how can it be the primary cause of your suffering? This is the first clue that we've been looking in the wrong place entirely. But the mystery deepens. You might be thinking, okay, so my body makes a lot of purines, but high uric acid is still the problem, right? What if it isn't? I have seen countless lab reports from people with sky-high uric acid levels who have never had a single gout attack in their lives. They walk, run, and live completely pain-free. On the other hand, I've seen people with perfectly normal or even low uric acid levels who suffer from recurrent, agonizing flare-ups. If high uric acid was the direct cause, wouldn't everyone with high levels have gout? It doesn't add up, and it gets even stranger. We're told that uric acid forms sharp, painful crystals in the joints, and when viewed under a microscope, they do look like tiny shards of glass. It's easy to imagine those crystals causing terrible pain. But here's another fact that is rarely discussed. Scientists can take fluid from the joints of perfectly healthy people with no pain and no history of gout, and find uric acid crystals. They are there right now in the joints of millions of people who feel perfectly fine. So if the crystals can be there without causing pain, they can't be the full story. The crystals are the bullets, but something else has to pull the trigger. That trigger the real villain in the story of gout is inflammation. This is where everything changes. The question we should be asking isn't, what food contains purines? The question we need to ask is, what is causing chronic inflammation in my body? And the answer may shock you. It's not the steak, it's the sugar. Specifically, it's fructose. For decades, while we were busy demonizing dietary fat and red meat, we were told to embrace healthy alternatives. Low-fat yogurts loaded with sugar, fruit smoothies, glasses of orange or apple juice. We were told these were good for us. But what we didn't realize is that these items were flooding our bodies with fructose. And fructose is a powerful trigger for the two conditions that create the perfect storm for gout: high uric acid and chronic inflammation. Here's how it works. When you consume fructose, your liver metabolizes it in a way that directly produces uric acid as a byproduct. But it doesn't stop there. A diet high in sugar and fructose also leads to insulin resistance. This is a condition where your body's cells stop responding to the hormone insulin, forcing your body to pump out more and more of it. High insulin levels do two terrible things for gout sufferers. First, they tell your kidneys to hold onto uric acid instead of excreting it. Second, high insulin is profoundly inflammatory, so you end up with more uric acid being produced, less uric acid being removed, and a body-wide state of inflammation that's just waiting to ignite those dormant crystals in your joints. Have you ever cut back on meat but kept drinking your morning glass of juice only to have a flare-up anyway? Have you ever switched to healthy whole-grain bread and cereals, not realizing they break down into sugar almost instantly? You are unknowingly feeding the fire. Ask yourself this: could the very things you thought were protecting you be the hidden cause of your pain? So, with this new understanding, we can start to see why the old advice was so flawed. Let's clear away the clutter so you can focus on what truly matters. You can stop worrying about a low purine diet. As we've seen, it barely makes a dent. Instead of obsessing over meat, focus on the real inflammatory triggers. You can stop drinking celery juice, cherry extracts, and lemon water, hoping for a miracle. While some of these have mild anti-inflammatory properties, they are like bringing a water pistol to a house fire compared to the damage being done by sugar and processed foods. Our ancestors didn't have juices, but they also didn't have gout at the rates we see today. That should tell you something. You can also question the need for daily medication if you fix the root cause. Pills like allopurinol work by blocking uric acid production. They treat a symptom, but they don't address the underlying inflammation or insulin resistance. Many people have found that by changing their diet, the need for these medications simply disappears because they've extinguished the fire. Of course, never stop a medication without talking to your doctor, but understand that your diet holds the power to make them obsolete. And please ignore anyone who tells you that your blood is too acidic and that you need to alkalize it with special powders or supplements. This is biological nonsense. Your body maintains its blood pH in an incredibly narrow range. No amount of celery will change that, but it's a great way for companies to sell you useless products. Now that we've cleared away the lies, let's build a new plan based on the truth. This isn't about deprivation. It's about giving your body what it actually needs to heal and thrive, free from pain. First, eliminate liquid sugar. This is non-negotiable. Soft drinks, fruit juices, yes, even 100% pure organic juice, and sweetened teas are fructose bombs. They are arguably the single worst thing for someone prone to gout. Switching to water, unsweetened tea, and black coffee is the most powerful first step you can take. Speaking of coffee, research consistently shows that coffee drinkers have a lower risk of gout attacks, so enjoy your coffee without fear. Second, drastically reduce sugars and grains. This includes the obvious culprits like cakes and candy, but also the hidden ones: bread, pasta, rice, and cereals. These foods break down into glucose rapidly, spiking your insulin and fueling the inflammatory fire. Reducing them helps lower insulin, which allows your kidneys to excrete uric acid properly. Third, remove inflammatory seed oils. This is a crucial step most people miss. Industrial seed oils like soybean, corn, canola, and sunflower oil are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which promote inflammation. Replace them with healthy fats like olive oil, avocado oil, butter, and coconut oil. This simple swap helps calm the inflammation that activates gout attacks. Fourth, embrace anti-inflammatory foods. Instead of focusing on what to avoid, focus on what to include. Build your diet around high-quality protein from meat, poultry, and fish, along with non-starchy vegetables, leafy greens, eggs, and healthy fats. These foods nourish your body without spiking insulin or causing inflammation. You'll find that when your body is no longer in a state of chronic inflammation, the purines from these foods become irrelevant. Fifth, consider a low-carb or ketogenic lifestyle. For many, this is the ultimate solution. By shifting your body to burn fat for fuel instead of sugar, you dramatically lower your insulin levels, reduce inflammation system-wide, and many people report their gout attacks vanish completely. They stop needing their medication and start eating steak again, pain-free. It's the most direct way to fix the root metabolic problems driving the disease. For years, the story of gout has been one of blame and restriction. You were made to feel that your body was failing you, or that you lacked the discipline to avoid certain foods. But as we've seen, you weren't failing. The advice you were given was failing you. The pain of gout is not a punishment for eating a steak. It's a distress signal from a body overwhelmed by inflammation and metabolic dysfunction, fueled by the very foods we were often told were harmless. By shifting your focus from the purine myth to the reality of inflammation, you can take back control. You can stop living in fear of your next meal and start building a body that is resilient, strong, and pain-free. This isn't just about preventing gout. It's about reclaiming your mobility, your confidence, and your joy in living. Now that you know the truth, the power is in your hands. I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned today that surprised you. Let's support each other on this journey. If this video opened your eyes to a new way of thinking, please leave a comment with a 1. Your feedback helps us know we're on the right track. Don't forget to like this video. Share it with someone you know who suffers from gout. It could truly change their life. And subscribe for more truths that can help you live life on your own terms. Thank you for watching. And here's to a future free from pain.